Lord Jesus, we expect much not because of who we are, but because of what you're doing in our lives, Lord. Lord, tonight, Lord, we know that you're working, that your Holy Spirit is here present, Lord, working in our lives, Lord, to bring forth a fruit, Lord, a lifestyle that honors you, Lord. Tonight, Lord, as we hear today's content and as we wrestle with some of the stuff today, Lord, our prayer is that you would bring breakthrough, that you would bring these aha moments in our lives, Lord, not because we want an aha moment, Lord, but rather because we want to experience your presence, Lord, even more richly than we already do. We love you, Christ our King, and it's in your glorious name we pray. And all of God's men together with one voice said, Amen. Amen. All right, so today we're doing session 6. If you remember, we skipped one session and we fast forward through one. So we're now in 6. So if you're wondering on your answer key, it's 6. We've already been through the beginning when we talked about a couple promises I gave you. Promises of where we were headed, the kind of stuff we would learn, the kind of things that you would experience that my hope would be to bring some form of a breakthrough in your life. But also we talked about just being real with ourselves, first of all, and then having this environment where we can be real with each other as well. And last week on Tuesday, we talked about the remembering dad. And today we're going to talk about the absent father wound. So if you brought your sheet, first of all, I want to summarize, but I'm going to start with the letter A. We're trying to make sense of why we are the way we are. That's the goal today. We're just trying to make sense of why we are the way we are. I'm sure a lot of you at some point have had car issues. I mean, if I were to say raise your hand, all of us would be like, yo, it's me. And I'm sure that at some point, maybe now, not now that you're older, but maybe when you were younger, you at some point heard a noise. And instead of opening the hood, you're probably like, whatever, maybe put the radio a little bit louder. You thought, I'm just going to ignore it, right? And then that noise turned into a rattle. And then it went from a rattle to just, really you were feeling it down below, right? Maybe you thought it wasn't a big deal, but at some point, it became such a big deal that you had to address it. Ever been there? Most of us, right? You had to address it in the worst time, maybe. Maybe you were driving with your wife or the kids, or you were already stressed. I bet you, when you had your car issue, it wasn't during a time where it was convenient. It was probably very inconvenient, right? The same is true with the stuff that we're learning today. Like for many of us, we've kind of put it down, we kind of covered it, we kind of pretended it's not there, only to find ourselves maybe today at a point where it's like it's not convenient. And maybe you've seen some of the expressions of the father wound in ways that were unexpected. For example, maybe you've been in a point where you're like, I'm not mad, I'm just tired. Or I'm fine, but you're grinding your teeth. Or you snapped at your wife because of the trash can, but it really wasn't about the trash can, right? It was sipping out, right? It was coming out. If you don't deal with the stuff, the wounds that are inside of you, they will deal with you and they're going to leak out. And so today we're going to go past the land of shallow, we're going to go into the deep, and we're going to go into a place we call real and start exploring what the impact of the absent father wound has been for some of us. There's 3 types of guys here. Either you're a father, like you currently have kids in your home, or you have kids outside of your home. You're older now, they're out of the house, number 2. Number 3 is you're a son. You don't have kids yet. Certainly you don't have kids that's left yet. But tell you what, maybe you are experiencing some of those wounds. All 3 of y'all, in whatever category you're in, today is going to fit all of us. It's going to land somewhere where we're all at. So we're going to look, in essence, under the hood, and we're going to see what lurks in it. Because if we're honest, a lot of emotional baggage we tend to hide. It's like that suitcase that I brought the other day. I brought it in. I was like, we have this suitcase we travel with. We take it with us. But a lot of us don't take the time to open it. And even less, maybe we don't even know how to open the suitcase. We don't even know how to explore and look into that stuff that's in there. And that suitcase, for a lot of people, it's weighty. It has weight. And it's affecting the marriage or the temper or the relationship with the kids, the parenting, maybe even your spiritual walk. And here's the first thing I want to share with you, and that is each of us has a story to tell. I have a story to tell. You have a story to tell. And you don't get free by acting like the stuff you've experienced never happened. Matter of fact, you get free when you tell yourself the truth. And when you tell somebody in your life, another dude, a solid guy, the truth out loud. Many of you all haven't had that experience. Maybe you don't have those kind of relationships. Maybe you haven't crossed that journey where you have those kind of bonds that you could be like, yo, dude, this is my life. Not making excuses, but just being able to verbalize out loud what you've gone through. When you do that, when you get vocal about it, when you first declare it or share it, that's when you start seeing the connection of the dots. Your boss corrects you. And for some of you, you hear your dad's voice. Or your wife asks you a simple question and you feel like she's interrogating you like a detective, right? Or your kids, they spill something and you go from 0 to 100 like fast. And you may not even know why. And today the intention is for you to be able to say like, that's why I react the way I react. That's why I shut down. That's why I stay busy. That's why that comment hit me so hard. You have a story. I have a story. We all have a story. Number 2, each of us, to some degree, is a product of the past. There's no such thing as not being connected to the past. There's no such thing as being like, the past doesn't impact me, doesn't influence me, doesn't shape the way I think. All of us have been, by and large, shaped by our past. Some of your past has helped you. Some of it has made things harder in your life. Some of it has caused bruises in your life. And for some of you, you're still carrying those bruises. But each of us is influenced by it. Matter of fact, number 3 is each of us is controlled by the past until we choose to break that control. Each of us is controlled by the past until we choose to break that control. And it's important to bring out that word choose. Until we choose. You don't just get out of it. You don't just get out of control from the past. It really is a choice. But in order for it to be a choice, it assumes that you're aware what the impact of your past is in your life. If you don't understand your background, you'll probably repeat it. Your kids will probably repeat it. Your grandchildren probably repeat it, unless there's some measure of awareness of the past. And it's not because you want to, it's because you've never identified it. You never pinpointed it, never named it, right? But here's the good news, and that's once you see it, you can untangle that. You can interrupt the repeated pattern. You can say, you know what? As for me, my future's going to change. You can break the pattern. You can become a different kind of man. You can become a different kind of father. Matter of fact, you can become a different kind of grandfather, a different kind of husband once you identify the patterns, the things that have shaped you, the things that have moved you in life that you didn't even realize those were the thinking patterns that was resulting in the way they were being leaked out or manifested in your life. We're exploring the first of 5 major wounds that shape us. So over the course of the next couple of weeks, we're going to be exploring the 5 wounds that I gave you my commitment we would do from day 1. Today is the absent father wound. And I don't just mean that dad wasn't around. I mean, any situation where the relationship with dad left a gap. So dad might have been present while absent, right, at home. Or maybe he was present, somewhat dialed in, but there's still a gap that was created. That gap, that wound, this is the way we're defining it. And it's an ongoing emotional, social, and spiritual deficit. So there's a deficit that's emotional, social, spiritual, that should have been met by dad, but now has to be overcome in some other way. It's a deficit that's there, a gap that has been there that was, caused by dad or influenced by dad, that now is being met in all sorts of maybe dysfunctional ways. That deficit is like a hole. It's like a void. It's something that you can't really fill or satisfy. For example, maybe you always feel like you have to prove yourself. You're at work and enough is never enough. You get the promotion, that's not enough. You got to go for the next one. You get the next one, that's not enough. You got to now be the manager. That's not enough. You got to now go solo, right? Or maybe you get a compliment, the spouse or the boss, and you feel uncomfortable. You do good with criticism. You can hang with criticism. But when somebody compliments, it just gives you the EBGBs. You're like, I don't know about this. Or you keep achieving, but it never feels like it really satisfies. And it doesn't get filled in a healthy way. Something else has to fill that, right? You're trying to fill that void somewhere else or with someone else. And instead of the void being filled, it shows up as anger, resentment, blame, numbing, or workaholic, or just having a short fuse. And it leaks out sideways. For example, you're calm at work. When you come home, you explode. Or you don't cry, you just get really sarcastic. You can do those zingers really good. Or you don't talk it out, you just shut down. So at this point, some of you are already like, okay, starting to touch a nerve. This is the reality of it. This wound is being inflicted at epidemic levels today. That's C. This wound is being inflicted at epidemic levels today. Over 50% of our geography, of our population, has some measure of absent father wound, either because dad wasn't there, because of divorce, or death, or something else, abandonment, or because he was there but not really there. It's not this rare thing, in other words. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm one of a few. You're more likely to be one of many. It's in a lot of homes. And I want you to notice something, and that is that when God talks about real spiritual renewal, the sign that God uses for spiritual renewal, and I think also what we'll see here nationally, national renewal, is going to entail dads and their relationship with their kids. More specifically, them being reconciled. I want you to go to Malachi chapter 4, verse 16. Let me show you there. Malachi 4:16. This is written in the book that is considered the last book God spoke before he speaks again through Jesus, right? There's a huge gap between Malachi and the Gospel of Matthew and Mark and Luke and John. It's about a 400-year gap. And it reads like this. It says, He will turn the hearts of the parents to their children, and the hearts of the children to their parents, or else I will come and strike the land with total destruction. That's intense. When we don't see that, when we don't see that reconciliation of parents and children, at least from a national level, then we have to wonder, are we under a curse, right? Are we really, really under God's blessing when we're not seeing that? Because what happens between fathers and sons and children, that doesn't just stay in the house. You know what happens? That invades and bleeds into the whole culture. We've talked about this before. We've looked at current media. We look at, current Hollywood. We look at where we're at socially. And it doesn't take us far to realize that we're not there. Like, we're really not there. So what do we do? Do we just talk about the wound, Do we just have a little circle? We do a little bit kumbaya? Do we talk about our feelings, No, we don't. I'm going to give you some remedies for it. Some practical stuff, because we're dudes, we're guys. We need some practical, some handles on that bike that we can grab a hold of. 8 proactive remedies. 3 for dads and 5 for sons that we're going to talk about tonight. 8 proactive remedies for the absent father wound. So if you're a dad, here's the first thing. If you're a dad, you have little kids at home, kids still in school, kids out of school, right? Make sure your son has the essentials, especially if you still have them at home. Make sure your sons have the essentials. If you're a dad, here's the deal. Your son should not leave your influence with some essentials. What are those essentials? Here's the first one. Essential. Make sure he hears certain things from you. Make sure he hears certain things from you. Now, this is not implied. This is actual spoken. This is what you say. These are words. This is not grunts like we try to do as guys, No, this is there's words that are coming out of the mouth, and these are the words you want to share with your sons. I love you. It's not just about providing. It's not just about showing up. He needs those words. I love you. Number 2, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. He needs to know that he stands tall in the eyes of his father. And then you're good. That's the third one. You're good. Meaning you notice his strengths and you name them. You name the strengths. And let's be honest. Most dads, we do the opposite. They come out of the field, or they have that concert, or they do that one thing, and the first thing we do is we're like, oh man, you could have done this. Oh man, you missed that. Oh, did you not see? Right? Critique goes really far. We assume the strengths and we critique weaknesses really quick. He plays that game, like I said, and we go quick to what was the mistake. I don't want you to miss this, guys. Correction has a place, but I'm telling you, I love you. I'm proud of you. You're good at fill in the blank goes a long, long way. This last week, my daughter made the dean's list, and she made the president's list as well, and my other son also made the dean's list. So I said, hey, let's actually, does anybody go to Grace Christian Academy here? All right, okay, Joseph, just keep this in mind. Don't tell this to anybody. So my daughter, after the Super Bowl, right? Sunday comes, Super Bowl, we're excited, we're watching the game just with the family. Monday morning, my younger daughter, Zoe, 11, she's like, Dad, I miss my brothers and sister. Now, they were there Sunday. We were watching the game. But one of my sons had his girlfriend there and had his best friend there. So there was a lot of mixed company, right? And so she felt disconnected. And so I told my daughter, well, tell you what, I haven't told you this before. She's a sixth grader. So I haven't told you this before, but sometimes in this house we get mental health days. And she's like, what? It's like, yeah, I gave the option to your siblings at some point. And It's like, well, why didn't you tell me before? I said, because before you wanted to get out of school, and now you want to make perfect attendance. So now is the perfect time to say this. She's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, that means that we're going to go have lunch this last Monday with your brothers and your sister. It's like, oh, so mental health day, Joseph, remember that. Don't tell the principal. So those guys skipping mental health day, kind of the same, right? So we go to San Marcos. We meet with my boys and my daughter. And in the process, we're having this conversation. And I look at my son and my daughter, my second oldest and my daughter. I'm like, man, I'm really proud of you guys. You guys made the Dean's List. That's awesome, you know. My oldest son, I just noticed he just stopped eating. And I was like, at the time I didn't notice. I didn't think much of it, right? It's my older son. And on the way home, I was thinking to myself, man, I just put him on the spot. Because he had somewhat trouble this last semester. So much so that he changed his major from computer science to math, and he had a lot of struggle. And so I got home, and later that night, just thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Like, I put him on the spot, not because I wanted to, you know, it just happened, right? Like life. We say things as men. We do things, say things, not intending to hurt anybody, but sometimes it lands in the land of hurt, right? So I called my son, and I said, Caleb, I just want to let you know, man, I love you. And silence. I was like, dude, I'm really proud of you. And he was like, thanks, Dad. That means a lot. I was like, no, I just want to let you know, like, you're good at knowing when people have something going on in their life and being there for support. On Sunday, you saw your little sister, how she felt disconnected during the game, and she was out by a corner. And you went out there to the corner with her. You didn't hang out with us, and you played with her. You spent time with her, and you encouraged her. And I saw that. You know, you're good at listening to people. It's like, thank you, Dad. It's like, no, I know you had to do a course correction in school, and you did really bad last semester. I know that. But you know what? It takes a lot of courage to not drop out. You could have dropped out. You could have said, I'm done with this. No more school for me, because you wanted to quit, but you didn't. You showed courage. And not only that, you showed enough wisdom to be able to say, you know what, I'm not good at this. I don't like this. And yes, I'm going to lose a scholarship on account of this, but I'm going to change my major to something that I actually enjoy and like and can do better at. So it takes a lot of wisdom to do that. It takes courage. And you did it. And his response was just like, you could feel his voice breaking. Like, thank you, Dad. I needed to hear that. You know? And that's what I mean. Like, our kids need to hear that. Doesn't matter what age they're at. Doesn't matter where they're at. Like, they need to hear. Now, was I comfortable saying that? Not really. I'm more comfortable saying that with my second, third, and fourth than I am with my oldest. And even after I talked with him, I was like, getting a little awkward. I was like, well, man, I gotta let you go. I'm about to get to the house. You know? And so it was a short conversation, but to him, like, it just meant the world. You know, I just can't express how much that meant to him. And that's what I'm talking about. It's just taking that time to have those conversations, to find the thing that you can be proud of. You know, to find a thing you can say, you know what, you're good at fill in the blank. Even if it's like good at getting in trouble, man, you're really good at getting in trouble. Man, I gotta say, you're stubborn. You're pretty good. You have a hard head. You gotta find what they're good at and share that with them. It's saying stuff like, son, I noticed you didn't quit when you could have. And you know what? That's strength. It's looking at your son and seeing, I saw the way you treated so-and-so. And man, you know what? That's leadership. Or even just saying, you kept your word. Like, you didn't have to. You could have done what the rest of culture does, just abandon that, but you didn't. You actually kept your word, and I'm proud of that. I see that. You know, Jesus needed that. When Jesus is baptized by John the Baptist, what does the Father say? Like, this is my son. Like, this is my son, and whom I'm well proud of, right? Listen to him. What is that? I love my son, right? That's affirming his son. And then, what is he good at? He's about to talk. Listen to him. If Jesus needed that, if Jesus needed the Father to share those words with him, how much more do our sons, or better yet, how much more do we need to hear those words too? That deposit strengthens him. Number two, you got to make sure he has certain things from you. You got to make sure he has certain things from you. Not just feelings, but really foundations. Several foundations they've got to have. One of which is a manhood vision. A manhood vision. What a good man actually is. For example, in our family, a man is faithful, honest, and steady no matter what. You know, in our household growing up, my kids knew one thing. It's like, honesty is king. Honesty is king. You're more likely to get in trouble in a greater degree if you're dishonest than if you're honest. And that's something that we've kind of, it's one of our family traits. We hone into that. We value that. Perseverance. Stick to it. You know, don't quit. You know, don't give up too quickly. Go the extra mile. These are things that are like giving them a manhood vision. Now, over the course of the next couple of weeks, we're going to unpack what that means. What does it mean to give them a manhood vision that can last the test of time? Another foundation they need is a manhood ceremony. A manhood ceremony. That's a moment that marks you're stepping into manhood. It's marking that milestone that they're stepping into manhood. Might be the first hunting trip, the first job, the first date, the first tool set they get, something that says, I see you're becoming a man. And it might be in phases as well, you know. For us, for my boys, there comes an age where just as they're turning the leaf into young adulthood, I'll take them out for the weekend. We'll do a Friday, Saturday deal. We'll go to some markets. We'll go to dinner. We'll talk about manly stuff like, you know, how to have relationships with boundaries, right? How to select friends that know Jesus. How to make wise choices. We'll talk about purity. What does that even mean in this culture? We'll have those conversations. And then at the end, we'll have a small little ceremony at Palmetto Park. We'll go by that huge rock, you know, when you come in and you can see just the whole land underneath, you know. We'll stop there. I'll crack open the Bible. I'll go to a passage in 2 Kings where Elisha is in front of a king and a king that's sick. And Elisha tells the king, go ahead and get those, a bow and arrow and go ahead and shoot it across the window. The king does that and says, okay, we'll grab another batch of arrows and do it again. And the king only grabs 3 arrows and that's it. Elisha gets angry. The Lord gets upset. And Elisha tells the king, what did you do? Now, because of that, the army that's outside is going to overcome you. And I tell my kids, you see that passage? You know what the king did wrong? It's like, what, Dad? I said, you know what he didn't do right is he didn't tap those 3 arrows over and over and over and over again. He tapped those 3 arrows 3 times. That's it. What God is trying to tell us is that we don't quit. We keep on pushing. We persevere. That's a family value. And that gets imparted with them. I give them a ring that has an arrow, on it as a benchmark of them moving into young adulthood. At some point, they'll have another conversation with me as they're dating or as they're thinking of marriage. But have that manhood ceremony. Here's another thing: a code of conduct. A code of conduct. They need that. These are the values that you live by: honesty, hard work, keeping your word, purity, loyalty. For example, we don't lie, we don't cheat, we don't ghost people, and we don't break our word. Right? There's a code of conduct. And then lastly, a transcendent cause. They need to hear that, a transcendent cause. Something bigger than himself. Something that they can live for, past living for themselves, like serving others, like protecting the weak, like building a family legacy, like living for God, not just comfort, like taking the initiative, right? Taking responsibility. Because if a boy grows up thinking life is just about him, he'll live really small. He'll live really small. But when dad gives him a mission bigger than comfort, he grows. He grows. Here's remedy number 2. And this is for every dad carrying a regret. So if you're here and you're the dad, you're like, man, I have regrets. Well, first of all, if you're a dad, it's never too late to close the gap, no matter how old. Let me say that again. It's never too late to close the gap, no matter how old. Some of you are thinking, man, I needed this 20 years ago, or I took this years ago. Listen, I don't want you to sit here in guilt. Guilt that just sits here becomes useless weight. It's not too late. It's never too late to close the gap. It's never too late to write a letter. It's never too late to write a text. It's never too late. You'd be shocked how much healing can happen with one real conversation. Sometimes it just looks like you taking the initiative. You set up a lunch. You grab the phone, write up a letter. You look at your son in the eyes and you own your part. Sometimes that's what it takes. It's saying something like, son, I haven't been what you've needed. I'm owning it. I own it now. Or I've been distant. I don't want that anymore. I want to be closer to you and I'm willing to do the work. You know, at some point I looked at my oldest son and I had to have that conversation with him. Like, son, I wasn't there when you were young. I was too busy making a name. I was too busy making sure that everybody else was taken care of, and I didn't take care of the family. I didn't take care of you. I didn't spend time with you. I want to make a difference in your life. He just looked at me and was like, I'm proposing that I go and have lunches with you. And if you want to have lunch with me, I will be there. I will plan on that. If you can join me, great. If you can't, that's fine too. And you know what? Every lunch that I've set up, he has shown up. He has shown up. Whether it's just him and I, or him and and his other siblings. Even this last time, on Monday when I invited him, I said, son, I want you to show up. I want you to be there. He showed up. I was like, dude, that's awesome. It's like, yeah, I missed the class. I was like, oh no, dude. My bad. This is not a mental health day. He took it way too seriously. But he showed up. I was like, he's a pretty bright guy. He's really, really smart. And so I was like, okay. Baby step. It's progress. We don't knock progress down. We don't say, man, I wish it was closer than that. No, it's one baby step at a time. And you say when you meet with them, I love you. I'm proud of you. A lot of sons are more willing to forgive than dads expect. No joke on that. They're more willing to forgive than dads expect, because deep down, most sons still want their dad. They still want their dad. Here's remedy number 3, and this is for dads in complicated situations. For example, if you're a dad, like a single dad, divorced, remarried with a blended family, seek help. Because you're going to need a sound strategy. You're just going to need it. If that's you, you're in what's called the uncharted water. Not a whole lot of people have been there, although now in our culture more than you would expect. Myths won't help you. Like, I'll just make it up in the weekend. That's a myth. I'll just have one conversation. That's a myth. Wishful thinking won't help you either. It'll iron itself out by itself at some point. That's wishful thinking. So here's a move. You're not going to like it. You're just not going to like it. Read, 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 read. If you're like me, you don't like to read. I don't like to read. I do audiobooks. But you're going to have to become a student of your blended family. Matter of fact, if you're here and that's you, let me suggest a book, probably the best book, in my opinion, on the blended family. It's called Step Family. Step Family, 7 Steps to a Healthy Family by Ron L. Deal. Ron L. Deal. And here's another advice for those of you who find yourself in that category. Spend the money. Get a good counselor. Spend the $100, $120, however much it is. Spend the money.
Oh, 7 steps for what?
What's that? 7 Steps to a Healthy Family by Ron Deal. You really don't need a lecture. What you need is a plan. You're not trying to win at a divorce. You're trying to win your kid. So you're going to have to buckle up. And the goal is simple. It's how do I stay present and healthy in my son's life and not add more wound. That's what you're trying to avoid, adding more wounds in there. Let me flip the coin. Sons, this is for all of us, sons. All of you are sons, right, to someone. If you're a son wounded by dad, D, choose to touch this wound responsibly. If you're a son wounded by dad, choose to touch this wound responsibly. There's an irresponsible way to touch it, which is to bury it, to drink it away, to act out, to blame somebody else, to become the victim forever. Right? That's the irresponsible way. But a responsible way is a little bit different. You face it like a man. In other words, you're not blaming dad anymore, but you're not pretending the hurt is not there. Again, like I said last time, to be hurt by dad doesn't mean you have to hate your dad. It doesn't have to be that way. It happened, it shaped you, but it won't run you anymore. So how do you do that? Here's a couple steps how to do that. First of all, by choosing, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. By choosing to forgive your dad. By choosing to forgive your dad. I'm not saying that what you're saying is that what they did is okay. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying that you're letting what happened, be okay in your life. No. What you're doing is you're saying that what happened is not going to control you anymore. It's not going to have the leverage in your life that it once used to. I love this passage in Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 9. If you got your Bible, go to Hebrews 12, 9. There's a little phrase in there I just absolutely love. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 9 through 10. Hebrews 12, verse 9 through 10. It says, moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? And they disciplined us, this is talking about fathers, for a little while as what? What was that? As they thought best. I don't know if you've ever seen that in that passage. As they thought best. But God disciplines us for our good in order that we may share in His holiness. I don't know about you, but that little phrase and that verse brings me a lot of comfort. Right? Brings me a lot of comfort for the future of my own household, but also it informs and it helps me be able to see through the eyes of my own dad. Because most dads weren't waking up thinking, man, I just want to wreck his life. I just want to kick him in between the legs, so he can have another hard life too. Right? Most of them didn't. Now there are, dads that are in the wicked, evil category. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But for the most part, most guys, most men, most dads didn't wake up thinking the worst of you. Or thinking how they could just make your life miserable. They weren't thinking, how do I make sure that he's going to have these wounds, and how am I going to make sure that he dysfunctionally deals with that through alcohol, women, addictions, or whatever, right? They didn't. What do? As they thought best. They didn't have a manual. They didn't have somebody likely in their life that was modeling to them how to be a good father, how to connect with their kids. Right? Likelihood is they grew up in an environment that was very, very tough, right? We live in an environment now that's very, very soft. They likely grew up in a very tough environment. Maybe broken. They're probably carrying their own luggage. Unopened and unhealed wounds in there. So sometimes forgiveness begins when you shift from what did he do to me to what did we miss? It's a shift in question. What he did to me versus what did we miss? When you start asking, what did we miss? Oh, we missed conversation. We missed the drives. Oh, we missed that milestone. We missed him showing up. Oh, he didn't show up to my wedding. That was me. He didn't show up to the wedding. We missed. Fill in the blank. You know what that does? You move it from anger to grief. What you're feeling moves from anger and just bitterness and resentment to a place of grief. And grief is often the doorway to forgiveness. In other words, you're not just angry at what he did, you're sad about what he never got to do with you. You're grieving a dad you needed, not just a dad you had. That's the difference, right? I don't know about you. If you've been in that situation already, I encourage you to just explore that. Shift the question and see where that leads in your life, you know? Number two, if you did grow up in an environment where your dad was just wicked, you know, it was just wicked. We're just going to put it that way. Wicked, evil. How do you deal with that? By choosing to believe in God's justice. Some of you just need to believe that God is just. For some men, your dad didn't just mess up. There was real harm. There was real sexual abuse. There was real, vindictive, anger, fury against you. And it was purposeful. It was intentional. If that's your story, that's the baptismal. If that's your story, this matters because you do not have to carry that role as the judge and the executioner. Go to Romans chapter 12, verse 19. Romans 12:19. Let me show you from there. Now, this verse brings comfort to you. It says, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge. I will repay,' says the Lord." If your dad took fill in the blank away from you, release it to God. Release it to God's justice because God sees, God knows, and He will do what is right according to His standard and what He wants to do. Right? If you can name it, you can forgive it. What did Dad take from you? Fill in the blank. Mom, siblings, experience, manhood, and then put that in the altar of Jesus. Jesus, you are the ultimate judge. I'm just going to leave it to you. It's not going to hold me like a trap. It's not going to chain me up anymore. And you know what? You stop replaying the wrong in your head. I know it feels therapeutic sometimes, but you start releasing that. Name that story. Oh, that's the story of my dad. Okay. Thank you, mine. Move on. You put the anger down and hand it to God. Here's remedy number 5. And this is where courage really shows up. E, if you're a son wounded by dad, courageously seek reconciliation with your father. And some of you, as I say that, courageously seek reconciliation with your father, you're already saying, no way. No way. I get it. I understand that. I want you to hear me. If you want reconciliation, you usually have to invite it. It's not going to come from him. Usually it's the son that invites that, not the dad. He probably won't. I'll put it that way. You're wishing and hoping for something that's likely not going to come. And that initiation is part of you stepping up as a man. How do you do that? Well, first of all, if the separation springs from dad's relational shortcomings, he wasn't good relationally, he just, lack of a better word, he was just awkward and didn't know how to connect. Don't let that stop you. Some dads don't know how to connect. They don't know how to connect. They deflect. They stay shallow. When you call them, hey dad, it's like, oh, let me get your mom. Like, no, dad, let me talk with you. No, let me get you your mom. Right? Some dads don't know how to connect. So you stay in it. And you say, no, dad, I want to talk with you. Here's some examples. Maybe you go grab lunch with your dad. You say something like, I want to know you. I just want to talk to you. That's it. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm not trying to fight. I'm just trying to see what can be fixed, if anything. You don't have to be rude. You just have to be persistent. I know for some of you, you're already like, there's no way. I know it takes a lot of courage to do that. Number two, if the separation springs from past conflict, so there's past conflict, that's where it comes from, not relational ineptness, but past conflict, clean it up. Clean it up. Sometimes there's a specific moment, words that were said, a fight that happened, a disrespect to your dad, maybe a wound that never got healed. A man cleans it up. It's calling dad, saying, hey, let's do lunch, or just a conversation. Hey, I need to own something. And by the way, it might not go your way. I shared this story a little bit a couple of sessions ago. The time that I finally got to a point where I needed to call my dad. It had been years since I talked with him. It had been years since the divorce. It had been years since I said, I don't want anything from you. I don't want any financial. I don't want nothing from you. I'll make it on my own. And finally one day I decided I'm just going to give him a call. I realized that he tried his best. Given the mom he had and the sister he had and the shortcomings he had in his own life, he tried his best. He didn't try to mess me up. He didn't try to, somehow cause damage to my life. It happened, but I just decided at some point, you know what? He tried his best. His best was crap, but he tried his best. And so I gave him a call. I said, Dad, I know it was a hard teenager. I know it was difficult. And I just want to apologize. You know what he said to me? I accept your apology for the divorce. I was like, oh, hell no. In my head I was thinking, I'm not apologizing for that. Because I wasn't apologizing for that. I was apologizing for being just a difficult kid. Now, in my dad's mind, in his framework, he blamed me because one time at my mom's, while they were together, he was attacking my mom. He was about to slap my mom. I got in the middle of him and my mom. I said, you stand away. He moved away. I turned my back. He came towards me. I turned around and I kicked him. Bad. He ended up leaving. And that was the tip of the iceberg. That was just the needle that broke the camel's back. Right? From his standpoint, the story in his mind became, you were at fault. Not his womanizing, not his physical aggression, not his lifestyle, not his drunkenness, nothing of that sort. It was all in that one instance. And you know what I did when I called? I just took it. I was like, okay. I just want to say sorry, Dad. And that started a relationship. And I didn't get in his face. I didn't say, no, let's get things straight. It wasn't the time to, quote, get things straight. It was a time to get the relationship straight, to meet him where he was at. Maybe you go and say, I've carried this for years. I don't want to carry it anymore. Or I want a clean slate. I don't want to pretend anymore. I want a clean slate between us. Or maybe you say, Dad, we've had this between us for years and I don't want it there anymore. Man, that's going to take courage. I don't know of anything else that takes as much courage as that. Here's remedies 6 and 7. These two are scary, but they're powerful. F. If you're a son wounded by dad, risk asking for your father's love. Oh, if you were complaining about the other one, if you're like, I'm not doing that, this will take courage, faith, and strength from God himself. Because some of you have never heard your dad say, I love you. And you've been pretending it doesn't matter because you don't want to look needy. But here's the deal. You're not needy. You're human. If you need to hear it, ask. Jesus needed to hear his own father say that. And we would never say that Jesus was a needy man. Right? Maybe it would sound something like this. Dad, I need to hear it from you. Do you love me? You know how hard that is? Or, I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to heal. Or just being blunt. Dad, do you love me? And even if he struggles to say it, something shifts inside of you when you ask. Something shifts in your inner soul when you actually boldly ask the question. Because you're not just reacting to a wound anymore. You're actually leading yourself through the wound. And then G, if you're a son wounded by dad, risk asking for your father's blessing. For your father's blessing. A blessing is more than good job. It's that moment where dad puts his approval on your life and direction. Some men have built whole careers trying to get that blessing without ever naming it. So here's a brave move, for example. It's saying something like, Dad, do you respect the man I've become? Or, I'm not asking for money, Dad. I'm asking for words. I need to know, Dad, that you're proud of me. I want your blessing. I don't mean that he'll respond the way you want, but he puts you out in the open. And for some of you, still, you're like, I just can't do that. I just can't. And I want you to know that there is a Father that does believe that of you. That does says, you are my son. I love you. I respect you. And you are good at fill in the blank. And not only does he say, I am good, you're good at fill in the blank, he has designed life in such a way that you walk into the good things he's prepared for you already. So some of you are like, he's passed away, I don't know that I could do that. And then H, if you're a son wounded by dad, reclaim what you missed by becoming a good dad to your children. Reclaim what you missed by becoming a good dad to your children. And some of you, that's where your fuel will come from. So maybe you didn't have the chance, or you don't have the chance to address, to talk to have that conversation with dad. Well, guess what? Your healing will come through your legacy. You didn't get what you needed as a son, so you choose to give it as a father now. Or for some of you as a mentor. You pray with your kids. You show up. You get on the floor. You put the phone down. You look at your kids' eyes. You go to their things even when you're tired. Even when you would rather go into the recliner and just veg, you're like, no, I'm going to dial in. You say, I was wrong. Will you forgive me without excuses? You apologize when you're wrong. You say the words out loud. And men, don't miss this. This is how you break the chain. Not with a speech, but with a different life. For some of you, tonight might be a night, or maybe this would be the week that you write a letter. A letter you will never send. For a father that's no longer in your life that you cannot connect with anymore. And you write a letter and you pour it into that letter. And you start off with, Dad, I'm beginning to understand what you tried to do in my life. And you begin to write, I missed X, Y, and Z. And if you're courageous enough, you go through the motion of, I want to forgive you. I forgive you. I love you. And I praise Jesus that He is my Father and that He loves me and He respects me and He thinks good of me. You seal that letter, and maybe burn it, destroy it, put it in a lock in a box, whatever, and let that be your letter to your dad. Not only your physical dad, but your Heavenly Father. Now, you can't change your childhood, but you can change what your childhood does for your future. For some of you, it's time to face the wound head on, like a man, not in shame, not denying it anymore, but with courage, with truth, and with action. And so, I'm going to give you an assignment, and I'm going to open it up here for just a moment to hear from you. And your assignment is this. I want you to pick one father wound remedy and do one action step in the next 7 days. I want you to choose one father wound remedy and do one action step in the next 7 days. So if you're a dad, tell your son, I love you, I'm proud of you, and you're good at, find out what he's good at. He's got something. It comes from you. It's got your DNA, right? You taught him something. If you're a son, make the one call or set the one lunch or breakfast. Dad, I want to talk. When can we talk? Without any expectations and just being forthcoming. Dad, do you love me? Are you proud of me? And if the relationship is unsafe or abusive, or dad has already passed away, write that one letter release letter, right? Where you release him to God's justice or to God's way of handling that him post-life, in the afterlife. All right, having said that, today is heavy, which is why we have the grow night next Tuesday. Today is heavy. You're going to need about 2 weeks to process a lot of this stuff. What's the one thing that stuck out you're willing or courageously wanting to share tonight? One thing that you're like, man, that really hit me in the gut. Richard?